Welcome back to Inside the Box. I'm your host, Joanna Lee, and today we are launching the 7th episode of the Canada Day series, Homegrown Edition. Here today, I'd like to welcome my guest, singer-songwriter, spoken word artist, and poet, Julie Barrera. Hey, Julie, welcome.
Hey.
Thanks
for having me.
To have you here.
Thank you.
So I'd like to start off with talking about your origin story and how you got into music.
Well, I am from a sort of more isolated city up north in Yellowknife, and there's like a huge arts and culture community just in general, not just music, but musical theater. And my dad was a classically trained musician, so there was always music in the home. Like one of my very first memories is like running around the playground singing. So basically, as soon as I could, I was in acting classes, musical theater classes, all these things like that. And eventually I even joined a French improv troupe and just really was into theater and being professionally silly any way I could. And that even took me to like girls rock camp, which was really, really incredible. They taught us how to do press kits and, learn power chords and how to jam, which was really fantastic. And just through this super, super supportive arts community in Yellowknife, I was really able to develop this habit of kind of grinding at the arts and pushing myself towards making it a lifestyle. Obviously as a poet and dogs must play. Obviously as a poet and improv artist. Ooh, I'll just grab this little one. Sorry, we have a house elf on the loose. What? Hey, come on. It's very niche, so the grind hasn't paid off, as much as one would hope in 15 years, but it's an enjoyable one. Oh, calm down. We have an old dog and a puppy, so they're going cray. And then my brother, who's also very musical, but more in an instrumental sense, like not so much words and melody, but like rhythms and bass. He kind of threw a band together because he got the opportunity to play on the radio. And I was like 14 at the time, and started playing music with him and our friend TJ Buggins, who's an incredible guitarist, and his dad was the one who had the radio show. I was on CBC Radio North. And yeah, just since then I was like, let's do this. This is my dream. This is what I want to do. Yeah, once you kind of start, you kind of can't stop. Like it's just in you. It's a habit,
So amongst this all, how did you become Chronfused, and at what age did you start performing as Chronfused?
So being Chronfused kind of came about initially because I couldn't find a band. I had been living in Vancouver for a while, and it's really hard to get a group of people together because people are busy, people have lives. When you're in high school, you can easily make your whole life about a 4 group of guys just getting together and making music, but that's much harder when you have bills to pay. So I started really just making music by myself any way I could, and Chronfused was my online handle at the time. And it kind of, to me, is like I'm partly made of greenery, I'm partly made of sweetness, and I'm partly made of the internet. So all that together is like a Chron fusion, who is me. And I kind of see it as like people think that you're maybe out to lunch or spacey or spaced out, but you're really just thinking and thoughtful and dreamy. And I got a loop pedal from a former roommate and still very good friend of mine. And I had always loved looping ever since I saw Beardy Man at this one festival, Shambhala, and came across this other artist, Reggie Watts, just on the internet. I was like, I can do that. I want to do that. And I did. And people seem to like it, and I really like doing it. So that's kind of where I've been with being Chronfused.
That's amazing. Speaking of festivals, which festivals did you get involved in, and what were the experiences like?
Oops, sorry about that. So the first festival I have ever went to was, as most things in my life, from Yellowknife. It's Folk on the Rocks Festival, still going strong. Incredible, just very eclectic place of both in the spectrum of like people and talent and who they put on stage and who they invite to collaborate with one another. The main stage is like headliners, and they'll have people the likes of Buffy St. Marie or Gob or Bare Naked Ladies or Tegan and Sarah as at the main stage, but then on the side stages they'll have like a bunch of collaborations between smaller artists, like hip-hop artists with Inuit throat singers or something like that. And these sort of melding of worlds is really what it's about to me. And then there's also Bass Coast Festival, which I haven't performed at, but I've attended, and chef's kiss, such high production to that one. You can tell it's run by women, which, sometimes speaks volumes. And then I've volunteered quite a bit at various festivals, most notably Astral Harvest. I've volunteered 3 years and performed 5, I believe, mostly on stage, sometimes doing roving. And then Shambhala, which I've volunteered at and kind of roved at through their Shambassador team. And then I've also gone down to Florida for this Halloween festival called Halloween, which is just incredible. Their attention to performance art, to infrastructure, and to just guest experiences is kind of bar none. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, they like, so it's the one Halloween is on a like 300-acre campsite in the middle of Everglade kind of swampland, and they take the swamp and they turn it into a water laser fire light show, just so people, one, won't swim on it because it's dangerous, and two, that way it's like they can turn it into art. It's incredible. So I was hired to just rove around and interact with guests, and that's also something I did at Shambhala and at Astral Harvest. And I think that's kind of what a lot of people go to festivals for. It's not just the music, because there's whatever genre of music you want to go to, there's a festival that'll fit that genre. But the thing that kind of makes you want to go to a particular festival more than just the lineup is the atmosphere around it. And that's where places like Shambhala, places like Bass Coast can really stand out, because they put this emphasis on guest safety and harm reduction, because people go to festivals to party. People go to get into these states of, freedom and inhibition. And a lot of that has to do with substance use, which can be really, really taboo and scary to think about. But what's scarier to think about is people doing that stuff irresponsibly and doing it with no checks to help them navigate, what could go wrong. So the fact that places like Shambhala, Astral Harvest, Bass Coast have not just a first aid tent, but a psychedelic first aid tent, they recognize the difference is something incredible. And I think a lot of festivals, when they can come back, will have that kind of thing, hopefully.
For sure. I mean, safety first, right?
Yeah, safety first, for sure.
So circling back, what is it like to live in Yellowknife in comparison to Vancouver, BC?
Well, Vancouver, I feel like there's so much saturation of opportunity and of musicians that it can be hard just to play an open mic. But if you want to, you can play an open mic every day of the week. It's obviously less harsh of a place to live in. Getting around is less treacherous, less fraught. But I feel like the community can sometimes be a bit insular. like for example, if you meet someone and they introduce you to a friend group, that whole friend group tends to accept you. But unless you have an introduction, you're always going to kind of be on the outside. And so it becomes kind of cliquey and kind of weird like that. Whereas Yellowknife, if someone doesn't recognize you, they instantly want to be your friend and like want to know what your deal is. And you're kind of this novelty, or you've known them since you were, in grade 4. So you kind of have your mind made up about them, negative or positive. And when it comes to the music community, I think that kind of speaks to that. In Yellowknife, if someone finds out you haven't like any interest in the art, they're going to hook you up. They're going to hype you up. They're going to find a way to build this thing together. And it's really incredible. I've never seen another place where, you can one day go to a drum circle and the next day get an opera singer to teach you a vocal lesson and have it all be facilitated by the same musical camp. But and also, or just like have someone offer a 12-year-old a place on the stage just because they're like, this will make your day, like this will make everyone's day. That I feel like that doesn't really happen here because it's so much more high stakes. I don't know, I feel like I'm maybe even explaining this wrong, but the opportunity to foster talent and community, I think, is so strong in the North, and you can kind of lack that here because there's so much competition, and and that can make you better in certain ways, but it can be like, ooh. And the place itself, Yellowknife, is a place of extremes, because it's dark and cold for so long, and then it's bright and buggy for so short, and the sun doesn't go down all summer, and it like stays down all winter, and it can be a lot. And that can have a lot of social impacts, both in the fact that it makes people really, really good at stuff you can do indoors, and you can be like really, really talented, but you can also become really, really depressed. So it's a place that when you choose to live there and when you choose to be a part of the community, you're just you do incredible things, and you can be so much in the North. There's so much opportunity. And I feel, whereas here there's different opportunities, it's just not it's not the same,
Understandably so.
Yeah. But I think I don't know if I could ever choose to live there again, because, like I said, you kind of have to be like all in with the community and with yourself. And I think I respect the people and what they need too much to pussyfoot around or to pansyfoot around and not help out,
Absolutely. So speaking of projects, which projects are you working on currently today?
Well, currently I'm taking something that we had been working on for months, you and I, as part of the Artemis Musician Society, which is a group of musicians who are all survivors of sexual assault. And we were going to present this project all about Korean comfort women who are, taken as sexual slaves, prisoners by the Japanese army. But we couldn't because COVID-19. So taking a lot of the archival footage and stuff we were using as inspiration, the art from these women at this collective housing place they all live at called House of Sharing, or many of the survivors live at. There's 4. And like testimonies, and sort of digitizing that to make our pieces still presentable in this current digital landscape. So hopefully that'll come out within the next few months, as well as some other stuff with Artemis. And then ongoing, I have Musish, which is a show at CITR, Discorder Radio at UBC. It's something I do twice a month, and it's a combination of things that inspire me, which is to say, music from artists currently or formerly making music, poems, sounds, what people send in. I've gotten nature noises. I've gotten original songs. Yeah, a lot of Canadian music, because I feel I have this burning thing inside me where I feel like I can't justify asking people to listen to my music if I'm not listening to other indie artists' music, you know? So a lot of it is Canadian indie music, and there's at least 3 improv songs every episode. And then I'm also putting together a 20-minute visual poem. So it's 5 music videos that kind of string together and go with this completely improvised EP that I made recorded in 2018, released in 2019. And it's called Slayer. The audio is already available on Spotify, all streaming platforms. And what we did is we took 5. Hey, darling, could you stop that? We took 5 different jars, each one with like a different theme. So there was fear, demons, secrets, muses, and love, and people put different things in them. And then I made a song out of each jar, and the BPM kind of increased, and the amount of instruments or sort of audio charcuterie that I added increased as the songs went on. So yeah, that visual poem should be out pretty soon. I'm hopefully going to collect a little more footage to make it cohesive. I feel like I'm missing stuff, but that's mostly it. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow, you have a lot on the go.
Yeah, like I said, once you have the habit of doing it, you kind of can't stop. I mostly am just trying to get out of my own way and put my phone down and do the work, you know?
I hear you. So speaking of Canadian musicians, who are your favorites?
It's a very tough question. I am the first person to be like, do you know they're Canadian? Like, that's Canadian. So for me, there's so many Canadian musicians that I love, but Buffy Sainte-Marie is always number 1 for me. I might have mentioned this earlier, but at Folk on the Rocks in Yellowknife, when I was maybe 4, maybe 6 years old, my Opa, who is my grandpa on my dad's side, was visiting, and Buffy Sainte-Marie was the headliner. And she was calling up kids to come sing their favorite folk song and all this stuff. And I couldn't. I was so shy and so scared that even though I wanted to, it took me till 2 songs later when she was telling the story to finally rush the stage and sing my song. And she thought it was so cute. She let me sing it anyway, even though I completely interrupted her, I'm sure. And my Opa was so proud that he gave me a toonie. And so I was like, well, I'm obviously a professional now. And this is going to be the rest of my life. So for that, Buffy Sainte-Marie, number 1 with a bullet for sure. Number 2 is Bad Bad Not Good. They're a Canadian jazz trio out of Toronto. And I love them so much. They take hip hop or video game music that shouldn't be jazz, and they transpose it into this jazz like environment, in this jazz world. And I guess at first their university teachers were not on board, and only one of them ended up graduating university kind of because of this band took off. Yeah. But they're so interesting, and they really blend a lot of musical worlds, which I really like. And then number 3 is homegrown talent, Naga Music. He also goes by Casey Koizen. He is a visual artist, an installation artist, and a musician. So all of these things kind of combine all the time for him. Like, his music videos come out in VR, and he's working on a playable music game using, indigenous stories that you can kind of navigate through. And he uses a lot of audio visual stuff in his live performance, and he gave me my first loop pedal. So if there weren't for him, there would be no Chronfused. So because of that, he's one of my faves. Yeah,
absolutely. You have to acknowledge the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah.
I was wondering, as a singer-songwriter, what would you advise young Canadian artists who are like-minded or striving in the same position as you?
do it. Just do the thing. If you want to be a bedroom producer, never perform, and just make music, do that. There's a YouTube link that'll tell you what to download. If you want to, perform and play a bunch of bars, do that. Like, just get out of your own way and do the thing. Everyone has to start somewhere, and if you start, you've at least done something. And if you think you can't sing, you can. We all agreed Bob Dylan can sing. You can sing, don't worry about it. If you don't think you can make a drum beat, you can. We all agreed Daft Punk just filters every record and puts it out. They're musicians. Like, if you have it in your heart, you can do it, and someone wants to teach you that, and that's it. Like, period, full stop. It can be sometimes scary to ask for help or scary to admit that you're not good yet, but I've had the most ramshackle training that could possibly exist. Ooh, dog bite. So mad. But I have the most ramshackle training possible, and I still do it. I still push forward, and I feel like that's the biggest thing that people can do.
Absolutely. I absolutely.
Hey. Sorry.
It's okay. Cuts. Okay. When you're ready, let me know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. My final question for you is, as a proud Canadian, how did you celebrate Canada Day?
So this year, I, like most of us, wasn't really comfortable going out around people and doing the thing. And Canada Day in general, it's steeped in a lot of weird traditions and connotations that I kind of feel icky, especially as a settler, a white lady. So I tried to follow, the Indigenous people that I know, see what they were doing. And there was a lot of folks who are pushing to make this thing called Culture Day. And it's basically taking back the idea of Canada Day. Instead of being like, oh yeah, it's Canada, we are all polite, meek people. It's like, no, we're all here from different places for different reasons. And we can't just, avoid the elephant in the room. We can just celebrate who we are instead and why we're here. So they put on this amazing concert in Trout Lake and live streamed it all day, and I tuned into that fiercely, which was great, and danced a lot in my kitchen, which was really fun.
Amazing. That is so awesome that you donated to a really good cause.
Yeah, they were crowdfunding to pay all the artists who played, so it was great to be able to just be like,
That's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing everything to the audience.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. For everyone tuning in, thanks for joining us. We do have a special clip of Julie performing for you after this, so please enjoy. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time.
Bye.
Hi, so yeah, this is going to be a jam about perfect pancake placement inspired by a dear friend of mine, and also Lazy Syrup Orchestra, who just released their old Bass Coast mix, which they were serving pancakes at, or some people in the audience were serving pancakes at last year, and we all have to sadly miss out on this year, but maybe that's best for the sake of food safety. But yeah, this is a jam, improvised jam about perfect pancake placement. Eating breakfast, babe, every meal of the day.